Hi, I'm Judge Logan. Welcome to the Dice Chain. Today I'm going to show you some easy ways to get involved and get started in enjoying the weird, wonderful, and gonzo worlds of Dungeon Crawl Classics. This year so far has been the best sales year in the history of Goodman games, which means more new people are starting in DCC RPG than ever before. As such, and as a judge, I feel that it's my duty to help some of these new players figure out how to really get started. The easiest ways to just jump in to DCC. And at the same time, I want to give some tips to new and upcoming judges. Easy ways to convert 5e players over to DCC. Or at the very least, how I did it with my group. Biggest barriers to entry when people are trying a new system is the ease of play and the cost. And one of the biggest barriers of entry that seems complicated when people are first jumping over into DCC is the funky die. Well, I'm going to take care of all of those problems really simply. If you go to the Goodman Games website, the quick start rules for DCC is absolutely free. You can download the PDF directly from the website, and it has everything you need to start playing. All of the information for running a funnel, starting level 0 characters, how to level up to 1 for each of the main classes. It even has a starting adventure, Portal Under the Stars, a funnel that I've ran and absolutely adore. Another big one, and one of the issues that people have, the funky die. Well, there is an entire section in the quick start rules that shows how to convert a regular 7 set into the funky die. Is it as good as having Zaki die in your hand? No, not really. But does it work for players who play other systems who'd like to try this? Absolutely. I run a regular game and none of my players own Zaki dice yet, and this chart helps a lot. And if people don't want to do it that way, if they really just want to roll those dice, well, there's another way you can do that for free. PurpleSorcerer.com has an app called the Crawler app, and it has all the Zaki dice right there. You can just roll them on your phone. So there you go. You don't need to pay anything to get started in DCC. If you want to get started in DCC and switch your group over this weekend, download that. You've got an adventure. You've got all the information you need, all the charts you need for early level play. You've got a conversion system for the dice. You've got apps if you don't want to use the conversion system. You have no excuse. All you need is the PDF, some regular dice, pencil, paper, and your friends. And you can get started this weekend. If you're like me and you absolutely have to have the book, there is another option that is just as good. On the Goodman Games website, they have a kit for new players. It's a soft cover of the rulebook, an adventure module, a very nice high-quality GM screen, a set of 14 dice, and an issue of the Goodman Games Gazette. When I knew that this was a system I wanted to switch over to, the first thing I did was go onto the Goodman Games website and purchase this set. Yes, I still wanted a hardback for myself eventually, but that softback became a very important part, an integral part, to switching my players over to the new system. Which brings me to my first actual tip. Tabbing your book. What I did here was very simple. I just put a tab in every individual chapter. That way I can easily go to whatever section I need to go to. Now there are more intricate ways to do this and there are less intricate ways to do this. It's completely up to you. It depends on your own personal level and how organized you want it to be. I bring this book everywhere I go. When I am playing a DCC game, I have this one in my GM bag. That way anybody at any time can flip through and check on some rules. Even if I personally want to use my hardback when I'm playing at my table, especially if I'm here at home, I still have this on the other side of the screen for the players. It's nice to have a copy that your players can use. Is it absolutely necessary? No, not at all. Again, you can get started this weekend and pay nothing. Okay, from this point, I really want to jump into judges' tips. Things that I think are important that judges should keep in mind and maybe start practicing regularly when they run a game. As a preface, I want to say that none of these are necessarily necessary. Every one of these tips I'm going to give are completely optional. If you as a judge feel like you can't or don't want to do things that way, that's totally fine. These are just things that I did to help my players easily switch from any various system that they were playing over to Dungeon Crawl Classics. So the first thing I would suggest is make sure you have at least one spare set of Zaki dice. Again, there are plenty of options on other ways to do the Zaki dice, but there's something that's special, something that's different about rolling physical dice in your hand. If you have one set of dice on your side of the screen, I say it's integral to have another set on the other side of the screen, especially if new players are coming. Another thing that might feel like a no-brainer, get yourself a GM bag. Just a bag that you can put all of your stuff in. There are some on the internet that have just insane prices, and it's not that crazy, guys. This was an old diaper bag I found at a secondhand store. It's amazing because it is a big back pocket. I can put modules or my dice tray in. It has small pockets in the front that I can put extra pencils as well as index cards and my DCC notebook. On the inside, there's enough room for multiple rule books, plenty of notebooks. It's got everything. There are even 2 inside pockets, one for my bag of dice and one for my spare bag of dice. Yeah, I pulled it back around. We came back to that. Another thing that I think is important, and it doesn't just apply to DCC, I think it applies to every role-playing game, your note-taking skills need to be on point. We expect the exact same thing of our players. We need to be taking notes. Do the notes need to be of the game itself? So. But what you need to have, what you need to take, are individual small notes, things that I do on index cards. An incredibly simple thing that I always do when I run games is I write down every item that they might find, as well as every enemy they might fight on an individual index card. I keep them in order that they're supposed to bump into them. Players knock things off of rails. This isn't news, but having them organized and at your hand is so much easier than having to flip through notes, flip through books. If you've got it written down on a card and you know they found the supply cache hidden in the bamboo forest, there you go. You've got it right there on hand. Writing down the name of the item, what it does, what it looks like, you have all of the information written down right there. When the players find said item, you can just hand them the card. All the information is there. They don't have to look up anything. They don't have to try to figure out anything. It's right there for them. It makes your life easier and it makes their life easier. It seems like something that everyone should do, but it isn't something that everyone does. And if you're already doing this, honestly, good job, because I have had so many people tell me how much easier it is to do it that way than the classic you read it all off and they just write it all down. Handing them a physical piece of paper that has the information already on it, it's just a no-brainer. It's one of those things that you don't think about, and then you realize, how have I never thought of that? The note-taking and the making the index cards, it makes a huge difference. I recently tried to run a game where I did none of that, and everything took so much longer. It's something that works for module play and homebrew play. I can't recommend it enough. It's so easy, and it makes your life and the players' lives, it's so much better. Another really important tip, especially if you're converting people from 5e or some other system over to DCC, really make the funnel fun. Make the amount of character death more fun. What do I mean by that? I mean, find a way to really mark everyone that dies. The Goodman Games website has self-inking stamps, and they are so cool. I don't own one yet, but I found a really cheap alternative. These amazing rolls of skull and crossbone stickers. Having that behind your screen, not telling your players about it, then the second the first person loses one of their level 0 characters, slapping that on their character sheet is so fun, and everyone gets a kick out of it. It's great. It really takes some of the tension out for some of these people who've maybe never lost a PC before. It shows them that even though lots of characters are about to die, it's still a little bit more laid back. It's a good time. And they don't have to be the exact ones I found. You can get something that's similar to that anywhere that does scrapbooking stuff. Again, is it necessary? No, but I haven't had a single party that I've played with that hasn't really enjoyed that. And if you don't want to use stickers, you don't want to use stamps, I'm sure you can come up with something. There are so many things you can do to just make that element of it more fun. to show people that character death happens, and it does suck, but it's not a big deal. It's a good time. It's part of the fun of Dungeon Crawl Classics, especially when you're running a funnel. Another thing that you should do, and it kind of goes back along to the tabbing out your book, is knowing exactly where all of the charts you need are. Specifically, the charts you need for rolling level 0 characters. If you're going to be running a bunch of funnels, converting new players into DCC, it's really nice to know exactly where those are at. And you can either mark them on here, or if you've got a little bit of cash, there's another way to do it. There's a way that's on the Goodman Games website that is, it's very nice. It's very nice to have. This is the DCC reference booklet. This is a small, very easy, very portable reference book full of every chart that you need from low-level play all the way up to high-level play. Now, the physical book costs $9.99 on the Goodman Games website, but I'm fairly certain, correct me if I'm wrong, that the people that make this also have a free PDF available if you don't want to pay. This is a life changer. This thing makes everything so easy. Especially if you have new players. Anytime I've got people that have never played this before, I immediately have all of the level 0 stuff open. We can just get everyone's character rolled up right now. No flipping through books, no doing any of that. It's just right here. It's so nice to have. Honestly, I could go all day about this book. This thing's awesome. Another tip that I honestly feel like everyone's already doing, but just in case you're new and you just haven't thought about it, DCC, you need to be a little experimental. You need to get a little wild. I was running the adventure Hole in the Sky, and when a very specific and very terrifying big bad came up against my party, nobody knew what to do. Then one of my players, who was playing a wizard's apprentice, said, "If I've been training underneath a wizard and I have a black grimoire in my bag, can I pull it out and attempt to cast a spell, even though I'm a level 0? Now, the module and the rules didn't really say anything about that. Later modules have brought that up, and yes, it is a total possibility. But at the time, I wasn't sure if he could, and I said, roll for it. The guy rolled an 18, so I rolled on the magic chart, figured out which spell that I'd rolled up, and he cast despite not being a level 1 yet, and it was so epic. He still died, but it was so cool for those couple of seconds that he was alive. If your characters come up with something insane, let them try it. Let them see what happens. I was once running a game and a snake demon had come up against all of the level 0s. 2 of the guys jumped into a Wainwright's cart. The Wainwright sped forward as fast as he could. The Wainwright ended up hitting a crack, which flung both of the riders up into the air, and they used that momentum to stab their spears down into the demon and one-shotted it. Before the fight even started, they rolled for damage. They killed the thing. At this point, I had been playing and running games with this same group for multiple years, and I am not exaggerating when I say this was the loudest and the most excited they had been in a long time. They did something so epic, something that they did not think would work, somehow survived despite one of them rolling a 1 and hitting a crack. If anything, that made it even better. Now, of those 3 characters, did they all survive all the way to the end of the funnel? No, but that one action cemented those 3 characters into all of their players' minds for the rest of the game and for games to come. A big part of OSR in general is rulings, not rules. And if you don't know what that means, it's that you, as the judge, the referee, the GM, you really decide what happens. You really decide what they can and can't do. And if it's crazy and it sounds cool, let them do it. The amount of fun they'll have, that alone makes all of it worth it. Because ultimately, when it comes down to it, your real job as the judge is to let your players have fun, is to make a fun adventure for your friends, your players, whatever, to enjoy. Okay, and there you have it. Those are my very simple tips on how to both get started in DCC and how to, as a judge, get your players interested in a system that you want to play. I mean, yeah, everyone knows that if you're the one judging, if you're the one GMing, generally that means you've been the one doing it for a minute. Nobody else really wants to do it, and that's a thing. Not everyone's comfortable running a game. So if you decide to change systems, yeah, they're going to change systems 9 times out of 10. But these tips, these ones that I shared, are ones that I did to make sure that even though I was changing systems, that my players were still having a good time with the new system. Starting something new can be scary for a lot of people, and these are things that you can use to help ease some of those tensions. Again, I have a regular group that I play DCC with, and none of them even own Zaki dice yet. But because I have a spare set, nobody's in a big hurry. They're all just having a good time. And ultimately, having a good time is what tabletop RPGs are really about. Hanging out with your friends, having a riot of a time, and killing some monsters and getting loot. What's better than that? And you know, once you guys start enjoying it and you think it's really starting to stick, you can start looking into other stuff like the annual and all of its cool extra rules. Or maybe some of the setting guides, especially the ones based on the works of Jack Vance and Fritz Leiber. Those are really good ones. I love those ones so much, I can't even begin to explain. Not to mention the literal boatloads of modules that exist for DCC. I love making my own worlds, I love creating my own adventures, but having these on hand is amazing. And then you've got plenty of other things like the Tales from the Magician's Skull, great stories to inspire your homebrew worlds, and the stats from the monsters in those worlds in the back of each issue. That's before we jump into other things like zines, recent ones that add entire worlds like a full exploration of the Elflands, to ones that add more player characters. Seriously, if you're bringing people over from 5e and Pathfinder, having things like a bard, a gnome, a paladin, that's nice. And if your players are really enjoying themselves and you want to try something maybe a little different, you can go a little post-apocalyptic or magic post-apocalyptic. There are so many options in DCC. It's amazing. The important thing is get out there, try the game, play the game, have fun with the game. So until next time, I'm Logan Collins. Keep working your way up that dice chain.